There were several points that was quite inspiring, because that implies that there will be possibly more jobs in the future, like the pre-editors, post-editors, and so on. I learned something from a translation agency in Taiwan, which has been doing MTP for a long time. So they have been accumulating a glossary of common mistakes that AI makes and the common patterns that AI makes. And of course, they also collect like the words that AI mistranslated into simplified Chinese, because Taiwan uses traditional Chinese. So they collect all of these mistranslated stuff and the correct, they also have a list of correct stuff. And I think that's very helpful, because if we're able to collect all of the things that we don't want machines to do, we can use that to customize our GPT. Yeah, we can basically run like an agency, professional agency, if we have collected the information we want. So for pre-editing and post-editing, we can try to note down the edits that we've made, especially if there are some patterns. I think that would be very helpful. Maybe we can even ask machines to pre-edit for us. And the other thing that was very interesting to me was to always to communicate with our clients and to openly admit that we would use ChatGPT or other generative AI tools. It takes courage to admit that. For me, at least, I do think that it's a necessity, because the text might be used by AI companies for training purposes, and I do think there's a need to disclose that. But I'm also worried if our clients would depreciate our effort because of that. How do we make sure that when we're telling clients, we still maintain our professional image?
I do feel that end clients are going to be a lot more accepting than translation agencies or LSPs. This just in my experience, because I feel like end clients, and I say this as someone who runs an LSP, so but end clients will treat translators more as humans and individuals, while very often agencies will be like, well, if I let you use it, I have to let everyone else use it, and I don't want to do that, so no, you're not allowed to use it. And so I think it would be easier very often with an end client to say, hey, I'm going to use some ChatGPT for this to translate your stuff because of whatever reason, and then you can explain you can do it professionally, than telling an LSP being like, I'm going to use ChatGPT. Anyway, that's just my impression.
I have met clients, direct clients, who suggested that I can use ChatGPT if I want to. And I'm really thankful for that, because they understand sometimes our struggles. So that but it's true that some of the translation agencies, they actually specify that we cannot use AI tools. I guess it's because I'm not sure if it's the case for Robert's side, but I think it's because the end clients, they might demand an explanation when something goes wrong. And if the source of the problem is AI, that would be a reputation problem for the translation agencies as well. So
yes, this also raises the other point of liability. So this was an issue a few months back, I think 6 months ago or so, with Air Canada. And they were using an AI for parts of their website, and someone had asked, if they could get a refund for a certain flight, and the AI said, yes, you can, but it turns out they couldn't. And so they sued Air Canada, and Air Canada said, oh, you cannot sue us. You need to sue the people who created the AI and all that. And the court said, absolutely not. Air Canada is liable because anything that you have on your website under your name, you're liable for. And so I think this is true. A lot of end clients, if you're using ChatGPT, or if you're using any type of AI with end clients, and something is wrong, or something is either incorrect or imprecise, or you use the wrong terminology, whatever it might be, they'll end up liable. And so that's another reason I think why if you speak to them directly and show that you know what you're doing, there'll be a lot more likely to accept it, rather than if they're dealing with an intermediary, i.e. a translation agency, an LSP, they'll be a lot more iffy. They'll be like, well, I don't know who your translators are. You might have 10 different translators, and who knows what they're going to use ChatGPT for. But also, I'm a different generation from you guys. And so a lot of the feedback I'm getting about AI and ChatGPT more specifically is how bad it is and how we should be not using it, and we should, and it's just stealing our jobs. And in the end, there are certain translators who are going to suffer because of this, but I think more agencies will actually suffer because of it, because I think it will be needed going ahead, and agencies are usually very slow to adapt to these things, and I think it'll be a lot easier for for translators themselves to be able to approach these companies, not all of them, but many of them, and say, like Rita mentioned before, market themselves as a consultant or something rather than just a translator, and then say, I will use ChatGPT or something, but I know exactly what I'm doing. I can demonstrate it with this, that, and that. This will be very hard for LSPs to sell and to use, at least in my opinion. That's how I feel.
A phrase just came up in my mind.
Yes.
The phrase that if you can't fight them, join them. I think it's the
Right.
truth for the T&I industry right now. I think AI tools are providing more plus than minuses actually for the T&I industry. It's just that how we adjust according to the trends, and we actually have to stay ahead instead of playing catch up. Because if we want to continue to portray ourselves as professionals, we should know better than our clients in using AI tools to do translation. So I think that's the direction we should go. We should try to stay ahead, just like what Robert says. Maybe we have to become AI translation consultants in order to survive in the industry. And so I think it goes back to whether we know what we're doing with the tools and how we persuade our clients that we know what we're doing. We're not just relying on the tools and do nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, you bring up a good point. Even if you don't want to use AI, you need to know more than the client does about AI. Because a lot of the things I see against AI say AI can never replace, real people because we understand language much better than AI. And that's true. We're human, we understand it, but that doesn't mean that AI is irrelevant, because AI can absolutely help, as we've been seeing through all our discussion with what we're doing. And so a lot of the arguments against AI, I believe, aren't real arguments against AI if you understand more of what's going on with AI, with ChatGPT.
I'll just quickly add one point.
Yeah.
The LSPs in Taiwan actually uses AI tools quite extensively. Like most of the LSPs in Taiwan, I heard, like the big ones, all requires MTPE translators. I see a huge market for MTPE, and I don't know if they use their own translation engines or they use like ChatGPTs as their engine. But like since several years ago, Taiwanese LSPs have been using machine translations. So I think that is a different trend from what you've observed.
So actually, I should specify that MTP has been huge in Europe as well, and I think some of the bigger companies are using it. Yeah, they either have their own systems or they're using it quite well. My impression, though, is a lot more LSPs than we'd like to admit are not telling the end clients about this. They're using AI or something like that, and then they're just trying to hire translators to do the post editing. Not all of them, but some of them are definitely doing that. Cherry, you're not Hong Kong based, you're in Taiwan now, but you are from Hong Kong, and you were mentioning also how the limits of AI can affect translation and or interpreting and stuff like that. Is this affecting the translation industry at all, and how, and what are your thoughts on it?
Yes, I think it worth talking about the limitations of AI in the translation market, specifically in Hong Kong, because what I'm going to say is just based on my observations and some of the conversations I have with my translator friends who are based in Hong Kong. Because the one thing about using AI tools in Hong Kong is that ChatGPT or OpenAI, the company, actually restricted access from Hong Kong since July this year. So if you want to use ChatGPT, you'll have to use a VPN in order to connect to their services. But you can still access other AI tools, for example, Gemini, Cloud, other AI tools. But this is big news to not just to translators in Hong Kong, but all the Hong Kong people, because ChatGPT is huge and it's also leading in the industry. And not being able to use this tool, actually, how should I put it? Maybe it is adding more barriers. It's creating a higher barrier for translators in Hong Kong to stay competitive. Or I'm not sure about the other generations. I mean, for Gen Zs, maybe it's easier for us to overcome that barrier because we're more tech savvy. We know how VPN works. We know how to get access from other ways. We can bypass those restrictions, right? But for translators who are not familiar with translation technologies, it will be even harder for them to even have the willingness to try those technologies, because before you can access the AI tools, you have to understand what a VPN is and how it works, and you have to do all the subscription and all that. And I think restrictions like that, I'm not sure if such restrictions also applies to other AI models. But since ChatGPT is huge, I feel like it's also affecting some of the translators who actually want to try these AI tools, but they find it difficult or don't know where to start. And I think this is one of the problems we are facing right now in Hong Kong. Yeah, so it's the tech barrier that we are facing. But of course, there are other AI models that are available in the Hong Kong market. For example, there's a Chinese tech company, SenseTime. It's actually launching a LLM that has Cantonese supported. It supports Cantonese, so you can actually use it for like Cantonese to English or Cantonese to Mandarin Chinese translations. But something that we have to be careful about that is because that model is trained according to China's social political context, so it might not be useful in projects that served clients that are outside China or outside the Greater China region. So it is also something that Hong Kong translators might have to bear in mind when they're choosing which AI tools to use. They have to use the right tools for the right clients in order to achieve the best results. So just quickly summarize what I just said. The problem in Hong Kong right now is translators are facing higher costs of getting access to AI tools because you have to pay extra for VPN services, or you have to find ways to bypass the restrictions. And in the long run, I feel like translators in Hong Kong might have a higher cost to bear. It's not just like monetary cost, but also like time cost. They have to study how to bypass those restrictions and maybe learn tools that are not the most mainstream. Because if you're not using the most mainstream tools, there are fewer discussions on that, and you have less information on how to use it better. And I think that might be something that Hong Kong translators have to overcome in the future. And I have talked to some of my friends. They are also professional translators. They actually use AI tools in their work, but not a lot of them do. Like some of them use AI tools for like the preparation stage. For example, if they want to collect more information on a certain topic, or they will use it for pre-editing, like reorganizing the sentence structures, they'll use AI tools for that. Or
Right.
when they run out of word choices, they'll ask AI tools to recommend some of the word choices. They usually use it for those purposes. But they mainly use Grammarly more than other AI tools,
Oh,
as far as I
interesting.
know. Yeah, as far as I know. So I'm not sure if it's the case for other translators like in the market, but from my circle, people are not using AI tools that common.
That's interesting, and I wonder how it's going to be going forward. If more of Gen Z will be, using VPNs and figuring that out, and maybe it'll leave the older people out, or if it's just going to continue. Anyway, it'll be interesting to see how that goes.
I do feel that it's important to have access to the most popular tool, because ChatGPT is really, I think, it's smarter than other tools in some ways. So if translators can, or other professionals can experience the power or the results of ChatGPT, they would understand generative AI better, I guess, because they will see how generative AI can be productive to their work. So for Taiwan, I think generally translators are actively supporting each other in learning generative AI. There's this one medical translation and interpretation association that hosts monthly AI workshops. So these workshops would, introduce different AI tools and their applications in different fields, including the use of generative AI in different settings, for example, translation or academic research in TNI and so on. So by taking or attending these workshops, translators can actually learn a lot. And in addition, there's this social media chat group in Taiwan where people constantly talks about the latest trends in generative AI. And people would also share different use of generative AI and the different tools that people find. So what I've learned in the past few months are as follows. So first, I learned that there's this hub with generative AI tools that is called the Tianping AI, TENBIN AI. So it's a Japanese website that compares the results of different generative AI tools. So whatever you can think of, it is on it, be it ChatGPT, Gemini, Cloud, and so on. And they've got different versions. And you can compare, I guess, six tools at the same time. So yeah, but this tool is quite useful. The second thing that I learned is about the prompts. So by attending these workshops, I learned that first you have to define the role that the generative AI platform plays. So like what Cherry said, you can tell the platform that you are a professional editor at New York Times, or you're a senior editor at New York Times. And for me, when I'm preparing for interpretation assignments, I often would tell the AI tool that you are a professional interpreter in the field of semiconductors, and you are going to prepare for a semiconductor conference. So now you're trying to garner information on the latest trend in certain technology. So can you come up with all the related information I need to know, or you need to know as an interpreter? And usually I can get quite useful information by specifying the role of these AI tools. The second prompt that I learned was that you can ask the AI platform if it understands your request before you provide your source text. So for example, if you want a certain AI tool to translate a text for you, you can specify your requirements. For example, you can list out all the bullet points specifying your requirements, and then you can say, if you understand my request, then say yes. Then I'll provide my source text for you to translate. And if it says yes, then I'll provide a source text. And then usually the results would be quite good. And you can also tell it that if you don't understand my requests, tell me what you don't understand. So you can make sure that the AI tool understands your requests before it executes the prompt. So that's some tricks that I learned from my peers in Taiwan. So to recap, I think Taiwanese translators are quite supportive for each other. So forming these learning groups, like workshops or like chats on AI, can really help translators to learn AI tools more efficiently and more effectively. if peers in other countries want to learn generative AI tools more effectively, maybe they can also form their own study groups.
Yeah, I think that would be a great idea for translator groups everywhere to help share their knowledge, share prompts, and do like Cherry mentioned earlier, do like what did you call it? Like a
Prompt bank.
glossary. Yeah, prompt bank there. Like I think stuff like that. Yeah, with translators getting together and helping each other out for stuff like that would be super useful.
I actually have one more suggestion because
Yes.
I actually used one of the Gen AI platforms last year, and it's actually developed by a Taiwanese company, MediaTek, and the platform is called DaVinci. And I feel like that platform, because it's trained based on Taiwanese data and a Taiwanese
Hmm.
context, so I feel like the Chinese outputs that they give actually suits better into the Taiwanese context. And I really recommend everyone to check that out because it also supports models like ChatGPT 4.0 and the latest models. And you can also train your own ChatGPT bots. Yeah, your own bots.
Oh.
But I'm not sure if it's available to the public because what I have is actually the school version, like the
Oh.
school bought access for us. So yeah, I'll have to check that out if that's available to everyone. But once it's available to everyone, I really recommend Taiwanese translators and interpreters to use that platform.
Well,
I
if you
think it
send me the
saves
link,
some time. Yeah.
yeah, I can include it in the
Mm.
description. I should say I don't think most people who are going to see this video, I don't think they're from Taiwan, but yeah, it's
Yeah, if they need it, they can check that out.
yeah, but definitely they can check it out.
Yeah.
Let's kind of wrap this up in a way. Are there any last notes, last takeaways, or things you wanted to mention regarding, I guess, regarding AI in general before we log off?
I do think that reshaping our image, not necessarily our image, but more of a like what's the value we contribute to our clients, and how, if we're going to provide added value, like what kind of added value can we provide? I think that's something that we need to think about and let our clients know. So for me, I would when I'm provide my translation to my clients, I usually would add these comments where I would tell my clients why this translation sounds better and what's the cultural context that it entails, or how does it make a difference to your readers. And I would usually add comments like that so that my clients would know that I'm actually not only helping them to translate, but also helping them to understand a different culture and make the communication more effective to their readers. So I'm curious what other translators would do to let their clients know about their value. So that's something that if translators have some good ideas, maybe you can leave in the comments below so that we can share the knowledge and help better our community. And the other thing I want to mention is the half cup concept that was mentioned in the conference, but I forgot to bring it up. So in the future, there might be more translation jobs or interpretation jobs because human beings need to fix bad translation or interpretation. So that's one way to look at the potential for the growth of the industry. So we look at a cup as half filled, but some other translators may look at a cup as half empty. So they would be quite they would look at the downside of the future of the industry. So I mean, there are two ways to look at the future development. So that's something that we can think about.
So, okay, my turn.
Yes.
What I want to say is AI is actually fun and interesting. And I only started using AI tools frequently uh, this year, starting from this year. And I started using it not because of my translation work or interpreting work. It's because of my thesis. I needed it for my thesis. I needed to check my grammar. I needed to check if I needed to create some literal translations in order for me to compare it with the actual human interpretations transcripts. So that's why I started using the AI tools, and I found it really helpful, and I saved a lot of time. And I also save a lot of time on crunching the numbers because I'm bad at numbers. And in that process, I find AI tools is actually really interesting. And it's a really fun process exploring the possibilities of these tools. And I believe that translators and interpreters, we are by nature curious and we are adventurous. And I think we should have the same attitude towards AI tools. And we should play with it, experiment with it, and see uh, how we can do better with these AI tools. And I think this is the way to go, and this is the way for us to survive.
And I just wanted to add, I've found ChatGPT, I think at the beginning when it first came out, it just seemed another version of Google Translate. And then slowly, start playing around and you see the other stuff you could do. In fact, I made a video of it before, where I could play around. I could paste my resume and say, come up with a cover letter for this resume based on this job description. And you could play around with it, do cool stuff. And then, realizing the prompts and how they work, and that it can be a real tool in the hands of a professional who knows what they're doing. So I think as professionals, we as translators, should really learn how to use this tool, and it'll definitely be better in our hands than in someone else who just decides, oh, I don't need a translator and I'll just use ChatGPT, and then they have no idea of the mistakes that can come out, the right terminology to use, and all that stuff. Anyway, I think it's a very interesting tool. But that's precisely what it is. People act like it's as if it's evil, but it doesn't have agency itself. It's how you use this tool. And so I think it's important to keep up with it. So I'm glad we could have the discussion. So I kind of really want to do something. I don't know if I want to create a course or something like that on the preliminaries of using ChatGPT for translation, but only with the free versions of what you can find out there for free, because I think that'll be a good first step for a lot of translators who don't want to, they can hear about this cool stuff you can do with the paid versions, but they don't want to start investing the money if they're not sure about it. So I kind of want to show what you can do for free. Once again, I'd like to thank both of you, Rita and Cherry. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for enlightening all of us on the discussion of the translator meetup, because it was great for me since I only got a certain percentage of it at the first time around. And I'm sure it was great for everyone else as well. And yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for your invitation.